live, everyone. We were just chit-chatting, waiting for it to go live. Well, let me do an intro. I'll introduce you guys first and then kind of introduce the panel. But it's Christina Kelly and Bryson Baugus. Hello.
Hi.
I'm your host today, so I will be moderating this panel with Bryson and Christina. I'm Elise Baughman. I'm the voice of Pan on Dragon Ball GT and other characters, and I also host Anime Adventures. And this is the show where I interview anime voice actors like these two talented folks. And I do this at Comic-Cons when those are actually happening and virtual events as well. But let's get straight to it. This is the Food Wars panel, and of course, I've already introduced briefly Christina and Bryson. This is who I'm excited to talk to. I know you guys are excited to hear from them. So I think what would be cool, Christina and Bryson, if you introduce yourself in your character voices from Food Wars. Mm-hmm. So,
go ahead, Bryson.
You want to? Oh, Bryson.
Hi, I'm Bryson Baugus, and I play Takumi Aldini. And Soma is my rival, and I've also voiced other characters such as Seiya in Saint Seiya, Belle in Danmachi, and many others.
Many others.
Yes.
Christina?
Hi, I'm Christina Kelly, and I play Alice Nakiri in Food Wars, Mine in Akame ga Kill, Loki in Danmachi, and many others.
Let's talk about Food Wars first. Now, Bryson, I'll start with you because did I hear somewhere that did you know what you were going in to read for when you first went in to read for Food Wars?
So I was told the show beforehand. They were just like,
okay.
Hey, we need you for X amount of hours for Food Wars. And I was like, oh, cool. I had already heard of the show at the time. So I was like, I'm going to be in that cool show. And the amount of hours they said was not insignificant. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be like one of like the recurring characters or something. So
yeah.
I didn't know which character specifically. So I remember when they told me about it, I went home and I watched like maybe an episode or two, just trying to pick out like, oh, maybe I could be that guy, or maybe I could be that guy. And Takumi actually was a surprise to me. I didn't think it would be him, but then I found out about it like the day of recording, and I was like, oh, cool, I'm this guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you didn't audition, you just went in and kind of booked that role.
Yeah, so that's how they do a lot of their more supporting casts, just because of, especially in shows as big as that, because of how many characters there are, it's and how fast they need the project to be done. It's sometimes they'll just cast the sides and like make sure to they pretty much audition the lead roles and stuff just to make sure that they know exactly who they get for those. But generally, a lot of the side roles and bit characters and stuff, they're like, there's so many of these, we can't audition all of them. Who do we know that's going to be good for this person? Get that guy or get that girl or something like that. Yeah.
That's really cool. And Christina, what about you? Did you know ahead of time?
Yeah, so whenever I got the call, I didn't audition for Food Wars like Bryson. Our director Kyle Jones is awesome, and he knows us very well, and he's very good with casting, and he knows who can play what and who will do a good job. It's like Bryson said, they've got a deadline that they've got to fit, and they can't audition every single role. So, yeah, I got the phone call, and I didn't know, I didn't watch the show. I think I might have been a little bit familiar with it before I went in. I think I might have heard of it, but I had no idea it was like this really popular show in Japan. I had no clue. I went in and I did not picture myself as Alice Nakiri at all. I didn't think that would that was the kind of role I would play, and I thought she was like one way, and then she took a totally different turn.
I was the same with Takumi, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So what were you picturing compared to how your characters turned out?
Well, like her like opening scene, like her first scene is like this very like dark kind of mysterious scene, and then she's like this kind of wild, sassy character, and which is like me. But like initially, I was like, I do not picture myself as this role at all. So, but Kyle knew what he was doing for sure. So,
yeah.
Okay. What about you, Bryson?
Yeah, it was similar with Takumi. His introductory scenes are just him trying to be all cool and like he's like, this kid is like annoying and I don't like him being here talking about how he's better than all of us. And he shows up, he's like, I'm your rival kind of thing. But then like immediately just turns into a goofball, like who takes himself like, and that's I like how that's part of the joke is that he takes himself so seriously that everyone around him is like, you're so goofy with this. It's like
very much so.
I love the first scene that he interacts with Soma. The first thing he does is he steps on his shoe and just starts like the scene pans out and you just see how ridiculous he looks with his foot just like jamming into his shoe and he's like and just making that noise. It was so hilarious. I loved it.
That's so awesome. And Food Wars has been such a hit. Like, did you expect that? And has it been so cool being part of this whole franchise?
I remember it was either 2015 or 2016 that like people started sharing around like a clip of the first episode where like the first like food reaction happened.
Yeah.
And like I saw that blew up on social media.
Reaction.
Yeah, reaction. I saw that blew up on social media and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, so this is that show. And I thought, what was the word? I thought, oh, so it's a meme popular show, but then I didn't realize like until after we started working on it and after it started coming out that like it was like actually popular, and I was like, oh, cool.
Oh, wow. And I know you probably get asked this a lot. Do you guys cook?
I don't cook as much as I probably should, but I can cook some pretty good pasta. I can do a good fettuccine alfredo. I can do some spaghetti and meat sauce. And I'm good with breakfast food. I get compliments on my pancakes all the time and my eggs and stuff like that. I can do pretty good breakfast food, but like in terms of like more savory stuff, spaghetti is probably the best you'll get out of me.
Okay, so what about you, Christina?
So I guess going back to the first question.
Oh yeah, the first question. Yes, we should go back to that.
The food was we knew like if it was going to be as big as it was. I honestly I wasn't sure, but there's nothing like the show out there. Like there's no other anime that's been done like this before. You know, they have action anime and dramas and horror anime, but there's nothing like this. I mean, this is like a whole different, ball game. I mean, it's funny, it's dramatic, and it's still got like, that shonen fighting style that they do with the cooking. So I think that's what separates it from other animes is there's just nothing else like it. And it is wild, it's so wild. But I had no idea it was going to be, it was going to be this popular, now they're in their 5th season, which is awesome, and a lot of animes don't even get to that anymore. Sometimes they might have like one big just anime that's 24 episodes or maybe 2 seasons and then it's done. So it was really cool. It is really cool to be part of such a fun show, and we have a really awesome cast and a really great director. So I'm really glad to be part of it. And then going back to cooking, yes, I do cook. I love it. It's one of my, I didn't like it. So actually I didn't know really how to cook until I got into like, I think I was like 21 or 22 at the time, and I could make a mean breakfast and I could like make a couple of things, but now I love it. I love looking up recipes and trying new things. And I thoroughly enjoy it. I really do.
Caitlin Singh, and forgive me if I pronounced that the wrong way, but it says, did you guys ever attempt to make a dish from the show? So has the show inspired you to make something, like if there a specific dish or something related to what you've seen on the show? It's a great question.
Go ahead, Bryson, you can go first.
Sure. I've never tried to make anything specific from the show, but I guess it did kind of sort of inspire one time when I was in college, and me and my fiance were like, let's make some chicken tenders, like just homemade. And we had some old Doritos in the closet, and I remember there's an episode where Soma uses crushed up rice crackers as like breading for something. And I was like, what if we use crushed up Doritos as our chicken tender breading? And so we tried that, and it tasted fine. It just tasted like regular chicken tenders because I guess at that point I guess at that point the cheesy flavor had like been like cooked out of it or something, but it tasted fine.
So you kind of used his creative skills
Yeah.
and thought, what can I use and make it taste good?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
I have never made anything from the show at all. The chicken tender episode is probably something that I would attempt to make from the show, but I mean, somebody asked me if I ever made anything that my characters made, and I was like, girl, I ain't good at math or science. No.
Yeah.
No, she uses like molecular gastronomy
and like
in her cooking.
And like really expensive tools and
yes,
stuff like that.
Like no, absolutely.
You're like, no,
not.
I just live vicariously through my character.
Yes. I just vicariously through Alice.
Her, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk. You guys have done so many other amazing characters as well. Let's branch off a little bit and talk about just a couple of your fan favorites that you get asked about a lot. And Christina, why don't you go first on this one?
So I think that my most popular show besides Food Wars is probably Akame ga Kill. We recorded that show about 5 years ago, and then it was on Cartoon Network on the Toonami block, which was really, really cool. And I had only been voice acting for like 5 months at the time when we recorded it. And it premiered in August that year. So I guess I had only been doing voiceover for like 8 months. And that was really special. And I was like the only non-veteran in the cast. And that was really cool to be a part of something like that. And it's a really intense show, and there's a lot of really dynamic characters in it. And it has a very kind of sad, but it has a really good ending, in my opinion. A lot of people aren't really a big fan of the ending, but I really enjoyed that show. So probably Akame ga Kill. I recorded this show called Golden Time last fall. That was another really popular show. I did this show at Funimation called Kankale, or the Kantai Collection, and I always forget about her, and I love this character, but she's like based off of the battleship Yamato from Japan, and it's like these ship girls, and they have these like powers. It's pretty cool. And probably my show Real Girl. That's a show that I really like too. That's a show I get asked about a lot. And yeah, so those are just a few.
That's fun. Yeah, I know you have so many. What about you, Bryson?
I probably should have opened with this, but Haikyuu was a really big one for me. Just like that one, a lot like Food Wars, like just blew up when it came out originally. And then when we went back and dubbed it, I did audition for this one, and I was like, I hope I get this one, because it's like the main character in like a pretty, it was at the time, it was a relatively long running show compared to what we normally get, because a lot of the shows that we get are usually, like she said, 12 episodes, 24 at the most a lot of the times, but this one was like 50 episodes for the first season and 50 for the second, and then like 10 more for like the third and all that stuff. And I was like, I want a long running series character. And then after that, it was just a lot of fun to work on, and I found out like just how big it actually was and stuff like that. Like I would see people cosplaying characters from that show at conventions all the time, and it was especially hard early on in there's a few conventions I went to before I could even announce that show, and I was just like, they don't know, but I'm that person. So that one's a really big one that a lot of fans ask about. Belle from Danmachi / Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon was my first lead as well, and that one has started to, I think it started to have like sort of a second wind because of the second season that came out last year, and they have a third season coming out soon as well. And it has a pretty dedicated following, I feel. A lot of people love to talk about that one. And then I ended up getting another, like, one of the classic anime characters, protagonists with Saint Seiya, where we did that reboot for the Netflix CGI version, and then they came back and they were like, you know what, we're gonna redub the entire old series too, and we're gonna use the new cast and everything. So I was like, hey, that sounds like a lot of fun. So I've been recently, since that came out, I've been getting a lot of old school anime fans coming up and being like, you're so great as this guy, and I'm like, oh, thanks. I really wanted to do well with that one, so that was a lot of fun as well.
Oh, that's so awesome. And you know what we should talk about, the elephant in the room, we're all in a different time right now with pandemic, and we're all existing in a different world. What have you guys been doing during this time? Like, what have you been doing with work? How has your voiceover career changed? Have you been doing a lot of stuff from home? And I think when we ended up going live, we were kind of busted talking about this a little bit. Yes. So for those who just caught a part of that, what have you guys been doing?
So I'm the kind of person that like constantly needs to keep busy. I don't know what it is about me. Like I see time that's not filled with something, and I say I have to fill that with something. So like I do have a regular job that I work from home, and it's great. And it fills up like 40 of my hours a week. But
what's that?
It's QC. So it's quality control, where it's for the anime company Sentai as well, which I sort of kind of fell into when I approached them, like offering to maybe write scripts or something like that. And at the time they didn't really need any new writers, but they were like, well, if you want, because I was just coming out of college, they were like, well, if you want some extra money or something like that, we can contract you for QC work and stuff. And then eventually a position opened up, and they were like, well, you already have the experience and stuff, and we don't normally like hire actors for this kind of thing, but we know that you already know how to do this stuff, so would you like to take the part, like it's a role in the show? Would you like to fill that role? And I was like, yeah, sure. It's better than working at where I was at the time. I was just working at a swim school dealing with parents all day, and I was like, oh my goodness.
What does QC mean? Like, what do you do for them? Or, I mean, I know it means quality control, yes, but what type of work are you doing for them?
So primarily, it's usually watching like the subtitled shows that we release a lot, and it's just sort of reading over the subtitles, making sure that there's like no typos, or there's no timing errors, or making sure captions pop up in the right position and spot and everything like that. I don't work on as much. I don't watch as much of the dubbed shows, just because Sentai tends to release more subtitled shows than dubbed shows still. And just because of the sheer volume of stuff that they license and stuff. So that's usually the stuff that I end up watching and reporting on. But in addition to that, I've been doing a lot of like streaming on Twitch and hanging out with friends through Discord and stuff like that, playing games. And in terms of voiceover... Singing. Yeah, I sing every now and then. I'll upload videos of me singing on like Twitter or YouTube or something. It's fun.
He's really awesome.
Good. Really? Yeah. I haven't heard you sing.
I
knew about your Twitch. I'll have to find you singing.
I could send you a link after or something, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's trying to be modest. He's posting videos on Twitter like, oh, I sing. Yes. He's good.
I sing. It's okay.
Okay.
And then in terms of voiceover, I haven't done a ton of remote work. I've done like 1 or 2 remote sessions. Christina will tell you, I already had like a sort of home setup for recording. She's even recorded a couple auditions at my place before all of this happened as well. But I did notice that for a lot of people, it was sort of like a scramble to get equipment together for recording at home and everything like that. And so I felt really lucky that like I already sort of had that kind of thing set up. But yeah.
Are you in your home studio right now?
Yes, I'm in my closet. This is a green screen. So
I was gonna
I'm in my really cluttered closet right now. So like I always put up my green screen whenever I do like interviews and stuff like that, because I don't want people to see how messy it is back there.
The magic of green screens.
Exactly, yes.
Well, it looks fantastic. It looks so fancy.
His setup is awesome. He's got a really nice setup.
Really?
It's very impressive. Yes. He's very good.
Well, I love that. I love the background. I love the green screen. So what about you, Christina? What's going on during this time for you?
Yeah, work hasn't really changed too much for me. We still get phone calls to go into the studio. They just have guidelines that we have to follow. So
okay.
Yeah, but some people I think are recording remotely, but work is good. I've actually been doing Insanity Max 30 like 3 to 4 times a week, which has actually changed my life completely.
Really?
I'm like the best shape of my life because of this quarantine.
Really? Oh, the silver
Yeah.
lining. Huh.
Yeah. So
on the other side, there's me. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there's me, or I'm like the least healthy as I've ever been. But it's fine.
But I used to just do like vinyasa yoga, like really like intense like yoga, and now I was like, you know what? I don't. Everything shut down like at the beginning of like the quarantine, like nothing was open. So I was like, I have to work out. I have to do something to keep myself physically, together.
Yes.
So, and I had these Insanity Max 30 DVDs, and I was like, all right, I'm going to give these a shot. And I did it for the first time. And it took me, so these videos are like normally supposed to be like an hour, and they congest them into 30 minutes. Whoa. It took me like 45 minutes to get through the workout because I was having to stop at certain points because I was like, oh my God, I'm so fat. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? I thought I was in good shape. Oh my gosh. No, but then progressively I started doing it like 3 to 4 days a week. And I was, like I got into like really good shape because of this quarantine. And I started cooking more things, and, it's helped me to slow down. But I'm like Bryson, like I like to be doing things with my time, and I like being productive, and it's just kind of, but it has kind of made me take a step back and go, okay, what can I do with my time that I would normally put off before this? So it's been really helpful. I learned how to make fake plants, like those really fancy, those fancy plants you spend like $40 on at Marshalls or Home Goods. I know how to make those now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have learned.
It's fun.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting. I know what you mean. Like, you slow down in a bit and maybe kind of evaluate and do some new things, but at the same time, you're staying busy, just different things. Oh, that's exactly coming up. Yeah. What's your favorite part about being in person and with the conventions and interacting with fans? Like either your favorite part or maybe a story that you have that you want to share about interacting with fans and friends at the conventions.
So what I like about it is that like sometimes you'll get somebody that comes up and they'll say that like, oh, this was my favorite character in a show that you don't normally get called out for or something like that. Like I know online I'll get my usual I'll get usual questions about like Haikyuu or Damachi or Food Wars, but then sometimes especially at conventions I've noticed more that like there's another show I was in called Diabolic Lovers that has like, it's like vampire boys, and it has a very dedicated fan base that's a little bit more niche. But at conventions, I've had at least 1 or 2 fans of that show be like, "You were this guy. It was my favorite," and blah blah blah. And it was that kind of interaction is always a lot of fun to be able to meet those fans that like you don't really see quite as much online and stuff. And of course, like you said, it's just the whole meeting fans in person in the first place, just being able to see the people that have been affected by the work that you've been able to put out there and see just really how much it can actually impact some other people. And it's really nice to see that. Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. What about you, Christina?
I love the in-person conventions. I love getting to go there and meet fans, and I also love going and meeting other actors who I admire tremendously. I get to go to these events and hang out with friends and who I sometimes don't really get to see, and then meet people that I'm a really big fan of. And I love buying stuff. I love going into the vendor hall and spending my money that I'm making. And like Bryson said, talking and connecting with fans and having them tell you that they love work that you don't usually get called out for or talk about on like social media. And it's special. It's really special. And this has been a great way to still, connect with the fans and talk to them. I love it. And I'm so glad that we're doing it, but there's nothing like, meeting your fans in person and going to these events and traveling. It's a little different. I miss them a lot.
Well, and then we did have a question come through from Adrian, and it's a question for Bryson. He says, are there plans for the season 4 dub for Haikyuu? Did I say that right?
Haikyuu, yes. Yeah. So I haven't heard anything myself about a dub for season 4, unfortunately. I hope that we get to, because it's a great show, and I love recording for that show. It's always a fun show to go in and just be this hype ball of energy that is Hinata in that show. Unfortunately, a lot of the times, and my two cohorts can attest to, like, actors are typically some of the last people to find out whether or not we get to continue working on a show or something like that, just because licensing and all that stuff. And yeah, I'd like to, but unfortunately I haven't heard anything about going forward. Hopefully we can eventually sometime soon.
Now, I think that I'm getting this right, that both of you started anime voice acting in 2015, and both of you have a theater background. So I'm going to start with you, Christina, and hear a little about your theater background and how that really helps with your anime voice acting. And if you're still doing theater, except during this time, of course.
Yeah. I have a theater background like Bryson. I went to the University of Houston in Houston, Texas. I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts. And I would say that the theater had helped in some ways, definitely with the voice and the training I got with going to school for acting, learning techniques to help preserve and contain and manage your voice properly and not overexerting, and learning really good vocal warm-ups and accents and things like that. So that definitely helped in the voice acting aspect, but it helps to kind of do it all, like doing, theater work and on-camera film work, and then doing voice acting. It all kind of, I think it all helps. So
I agree.
Yeah. I loved going to school for acting, and I definitely think it helped. No theater right now. I've done a few on submissions for some professional theaters in Houston, but they've all postponed or canceled their seasons until next year. So nothing's really happening right now. So it's just the voiceover, which is great, and work is work, and I'm so thankful to have what I have. So
yeah,
I agree with you. I think everything helps the other, like film and voiceover and theater all tend to help each other. And yes, I know everything's shut down, but what about you, Bryson?
So I had gotten into theater relatively young. Whenever my family used to go to church a lot, and they did like plays and stuff every now and then. So like when I was 7, I was in my first play there.
Yeah, I thought you were really young, like 7. Yeah.
There was like gaps in between where I was doing that. But when I really started taking it a lot more seriously was like high school time. Around the same time I started finding out what voice acting was. And so I was sort of going back and forth doing both to help. I guess they were both helping each other out. Like I think trying to do voiceover or voice acting was helping me with my theater, in that like I early on I had already started to pick up some of those like techniques on preserving your voice and stuff like that. Theater specifically helped with projecting the voice and all that stuff as well, because with a lot of theater you just have to project to the back seats and all that stuff like normal whenever you don't have microphones and stuff. So I think they sort of helped each other as I was developing my craft in both of those fields. And then just like with Christina, I went to college at Sam Houston instead for theater. I intended to go for music theater and stuff like that, but their department was full, and I got alternate for filling in slots and stuff. So I ended up getting a straight theater degree in acting and directing through there as well. And yeah, just sort of the studying voice classes over there. They required voice classes and make sure that you support your voice with the diaphragm and a bunch of other exercises and stuff. And I feel like having that theater background really informed a lot of performance choices, even outside of the technical side. Like I would say like voice and stuff like that is more of like a technical side of things. But just character information and being able to read a script and looking at the page and being able to interpret like what the meaning of the words are and how to internalize it through the character, like what they want, what their goals are and all that stuff. And I feel like having that sort of theatrical background really escalated the ability to do that on such a fast time schedule with voice acting as well.
Oh, that's so interesting how it all overlaps. Yes. And look, we have another question from Nathaniel. Do y'all have any cherishable memories in voice acting for Food Wars? That's a good one. Do you have special memories from doing that? Or can you narrow it down? Does one really stand out?
I have a funny memory of my first and I had said that like I knew I was going in for Food Wars, so this was a mistake on planning on my part. But I went into my session. It was a 4-hour session for Food Wars, my first session, and I had not eaten yet before going in.
Oh,
and
goodness.
If you've seen the food in the show, first of all, recording and voice acting on an empty stomach is hard enough as it is without having to see this beautifully animated, luscious food that like you're like, so that was. I mean, I still got through it, and I'm a professional, so I did the job. But like at the same time, I'm just like, I was like, I really want that right now. It was that's always one thing that I remember doing when working on this show. It was great.
So it's like, don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry. Don't go record an episode of Food Wars when you're hungry.
When you're hungry, yes.
Christina, what about you?
So when I went in to record for Food Wars, I went in and I didn't sleep well the night before, and I didn't eat anything like Bryson. I didn't eat anything. Oh, and, like I said, my character has a very technical way of cooking. She uses molecular gastronomy, and her language when she talks about her cooking is extremely elaborate. And we got to this like one chunk of dialogue, and I just could not for the life of me get through it, like at all. I could not get through this dialogue. It was like I was just falling flat and, you know, just stopping like halfway through, and I was like, I cannot do this. Like I think we might have done like 10 takes of this line. I want to say.
Wow.
And then finally I just took a step back, and I was like, I just need to take my headphones off for a second. And our sound engineer just said, how about this? How about we just take the animation off, and you're just going to say the line. Just say the line and you're fine. You're fine. Just say it. And I finally got through that line, but that was my first recording of Food Wars, and it was a little rough. It was a little rough, but we got through it, and the show's awesome.
Did he let you just record that line, and then he did his magical?
Yes, and then he did his magical thing with his hands.
The magic of sound engineers. I love it.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes. Yeah.
Those are good stories. Yeah, that's funny, because I was watching a review of Food Wars, and that's what they were talking about. Like, if you haven't eaten, you need to, because it will make you hungry. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nathaniel. That was a great question. Well, we're kind of coming towards the end of the panel. This has been so interesting. So just for the last wrap-up question, what is your favorite thing about anime voice acting or about Food Wars in general? Just your favorite thing. What makes you so happy about doing this job?
It's with a lot of acting work, there's a lot of stuff that actors have to do before you even see an audience or the final production. Like there's sometimes from weeks to months of rehearsals for stage performances. And I assume I haven't done a lot of on camera, but I wonder if Christina can attest to even recording on camera work. You don't really get to see the final project for a good amount of time. And in some ways, anime you still have to wait for like the final mixes and stuff. But it's really cool to be able to record record your line, and as long as it like fits and it works, once the engineer puts it in, you can kind of sort of already see like the finished project as you're working on it, because like you're hearing your voice come out of the already animated characters, and it's really neat. And I feel like that helps get into character even more, being able to see that sort of finished animation and all that stuff with your voice coming out and be like, oh, I can already see where this is going, and it looks really cool, and it's a lot of fun. So that's one of the things I really like about it for me.
Oh, that's so cool. That's a great answer. What about you, Christina?
You know, I never thought I would get into this industry. I never pictured myself doing anime. I thought I was going to be on Broadway. You know, that's what I thought I was going to do. And I was kind of a fan of anime when I was younger, and I still was a fan throughout I still am a fan and have been throughout most of my life, but I was a really big fan when I was younger. And, you know, if you had told me that I would be doing dubbing for anime, I would have been like, really? What? How do you even, and people ask me like, how do you get into that? And literally, I think it was just, I was in the, like Bryson and I were both just kind of in the right place at the right time. And it just kind of fell into our laps. And for whatever reason, they still like bringing us back in, you know, they like to hire us for stuff. But, it's still, you know, so artistically fulfilling for me. And I love getting to play all kinds of, like, we get to play all kinds of different characters and, you know, I played in Saint Seiya, I played like this I'm not going to say the word, but, you know, like a really awesome, you know, fighter, soldier for King Poseidon, you know, like you wouldn't normally get to play that anywhere else.
True.
So, it's pretty cool. And I feel very lucky that I get to do it. So it's fun.
It's pretty cool when you have a plan and your life takes you a different direction, but then you end up being so happy where you are. So it sounds like both of you love what you're doing. Man, Bryson and Christina, this has been great. Thank you for being here. Y'all are awesome and so talented. I loved talking with you.
So thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And that's all from us for now. Thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much.